Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to another episode of Saved, Single, and Satisfied. I am your host, Pastor JaMara Smith, and it is such an honor to come before you again as we do every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, today I wanted to discuss something that is very important that a lot of people are already discussing, and that is social injustice. Now, for one, this is a topic that I discuss and I talk about with my own family and my own friends on a regular basis, because there's always something going on. Someone is always experiencing a different situation, or they know someone that was in a situation and now we're discussing it. And what really, provoked me to go into it tonight was because of the shooting of Jacob Blake. When I saw a portion of the video, of course, I was devastated, but I was not surprised, because this is, basically become a part of the norm. Now, as an African American person, I have already seen this on a regular basis, but to see it broadcasted in the media is definitely something that, we don't see on a regular basis. When I saw a portion of the video, I was, devastated. I was upset. I was angry. And it was just a lot of different emotions that I went through, because I had already experienced that with Ahmaud Arbery. I was one of the ones who ran for Ahmaud Arbery, and then we heard it again with Breonna Taylor and just so many others, Mike Brown. I mean, it goes on and on. And you begin to wonder, is it ever going to end? Is it ever going to stop? And I wanted to talk about it tonight because sometimes we don't even really know how to comprehend something like that, because maybe we're not accustomed to seeing that. Maybe we're just seeing it for the first time, or being aware of it for the first time in the media when we watch it on television or your cell phone, because now you get all the information straight to your phone and you can see it immediately. I didn't watch the whole video because I didn't want to see the actual part where Jacob Blake was actually shot. I didn't want to see all of that, because when I realized that his children were in the back seat, I could only imagine what that is going to do to his children as they grow older. That is very traumatic. That is a very traumatic thing to see visually as an adult, much less be in the back seat, watching this as a child, your parent being shot at, or anything being done physically to your parent at any age that's going to affect any one of us. And I just said to myself, I don't understand why there isn't some sort of protocol before we actually shoot a person and with the intent to kill, because he was shot in his back, which meant, of course, the video showed his back towards the cop. He was walking away from the cops, and we don't know what was in his mind at the time, what he was thinking, because of course you're going to have people say, well, why didn't he just do what the police officer said? Or why didn't he just, turn around and put his hands up, or whatever the situation may be? We don't know what he was thinking. He could have been thinking, I just want to get in the car and take my kids home. I want to get out of this situation, because from what we understand, there was some sort of dispute that didn't have anything to do with him. And from what I understand, he was trying to, I guess, diffuse the situation. But then once the police officers came onto the scene, he probably maybe was just scared. Being in fear can cause you to do, some crazy things out of fear. Your adrenaline is going and you don't really know what to do. It's like fight or flight. I want to get out of this situation. And so, like I said, we don't know what was going through his head when he was thinking, I just want to, turn around, get in my car and take my kids and leave. But we won't know that until he actually gets a chance to speak, because from what we understand, right now, by the grace of God, he is alive. And so he may be able to tell, his story about what he was thinking or what was going on in his mind. But whatever the case may be, there were so many other options that the police officers could have taken in order to either stop Mr. Blake or get his attention even more, but to just shoot a person in order to stop them, that can't be the only way. That can't be the only option. I'm not a cop, but I know that because I have attended certain ceremonies, and I've been a part of working with the police force, because as clergy, I volunteered to do ride-alongs with police officers in different situations where the victim or whoever is involved may need prayer or just someone to talk to. So I've been involved and worked with the police force and volunteered my time helping the community, working with police officers. I know a lot of, matter of fact, I know way more, awesome police officers than not. And one of the reasons why I even got involved in working with, the police force is because my own son, since he was a child, since he was a toddler, he's always wanted to be a police officer. Now, of course, as a mother, you're like, I really wouldn't feel comfortable with you putting your life out there on the line, because that's my child. But I have to go along with whatever desires and dreams that my children, aspire to be, because I'm their number one fan. I want to be their, support system. And so that was one of the reasons how I even got involved with working with the cops, because my son would go to attend cop summer camp, and they would, he would go and work with cops. He would see. Plus, I wanted my son, my Black son, to work in and be around cops so that he can kind of somewhat feel comfortable with being with a cop. And I wanted him to see both sides, because I teach my son and I taught my son, of course, as he was beginning to drive. If you get pulled over, I had the talk with him, just as most Black parents have the talk with their children. And so I knew when I had the talk with him, before I had the talk with him, I wanted to get him around police officers who I knew, were, good-hearted, did their job. There wasn't any bias there, and they were all races. And so I did get involved with volunteering as clergy, right along with the cops. And, so my son saw that. He was a part of that with me. And so I've seen the good, I've seen some bad, but I've seen more good than bad. But at the end of the day, when I see these victims continually to just come into the media on a regular basis, anyone with common sense would question, well, why? Why is it always shoot first and all the other options are null and void? What happened to just using a taser? Or why do you have to shoot to kill? Why do you have to shoot someone in the heart, the chest, the back, where you know that that's going to cause a potential fatality? Why? And then when you see them using other options, such as a taser, such as even communicating longer with other races, giving them a chance, giving them an opportunity to live and go back home to their loved ones. But when it's a different color, it's almost as if we don't get a chance. We don't get an option. We don't get the other training tools that you were taught to use during training, but you're choosing not to do it. And so after a while, you begin to say, what is really going on? Is this system really working? If we're continuing to see Mike Brown, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, the list goes on and on. And you can't just keep saying, oh, well, they should have did this. Oh, well, they should have did that. When are we going to say that is a human life that belonged to someone? That was someone's child. That was someone's brother. That was someone's sister, aunt, uncle, cousin, father, mother. We're all human beings. We should all be treated the same, no matter what your complexion is. And if we are, we live in this skin each and every day, we cannot change the color of our skin. Why does the media use certain words to describe a Black person in a situation differently than they describe someone else of another race in the same situation? Words matter. Words matter a lot. And the verbiage that you use for one race to describe something, it should be the same verbiage that you use for another race to describe something. It should be across the board the same vocabulary that you use for everybody, because all of us bleed red. All of us are going to bleed the same color. So why is it that the color of our skin, why does it matter so much in your reactions to us, in the way you respond to us? It has to be something psychological, because why is it that someone who's in the same situation, they get a second chance? They get a conversation. They get understanding. They get empathy. Why is it that Black skin we don't receive the same treatment in the same situation? It's nothing but the grace of God that I have not experienced, what I see on media, what I see every day. By the grace of God, He has kept me. And I'm thankful for that. But even if you have not experienced or been in a similar situation that you see in the news and in the media, and you are of a different race, doesn't mean that you can't have empathy, that you can't see or change your perspective on how you view another race. You don't have to actually go through what I'm going through to know that at least on a human level, there was some pain that person experienced, and you can show some empathy. You can show some sympathy in a situation. Even if you take that same scenario and put it in a different situation, I can say, okay, I'm a divorced mother. Even if you've never been divorced, when I say I've been divorced, you automatically know I've been through some things. You automatically know there were some trials and tribulations to even come to a conclusion that a marriage is to be, dissolved, is trauma. So everybody, all of us on some level have experienced some sort of trauma. So if you even can go back to that trauma that you've experienced, that experience would build in you compassion. That trauma builds in you empathy for your fellow brother or sister of a different race or of the same race. All of us have experienced pain in some form or fashion. And you can take that pain that you went through and see something that happens to another race and see that you can feel empathy and compassion for that person just on a human level. If you've never experienced racism, but you see racism with someone even on television or even in your own life, if you have friends who discuss things with you, even though you've never experienced it for yourself, you can still have some empathy. You can still have some compassion, even if you don't quite understand all the details of racism or why it exists. You can still have compassion and empathy on a human level when you see something like what happened to Jacob Blake, being shot 7 times, or Ahmaud Arbery, who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time in a neighborhood where he was not welcomed and murdered. He was young, a young Black man, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time in the neighborhood where people felt like he should not have been walking there. He should not have been there. Because of the color of his skin, they said, you don't belong. Why? Why is something that we have absolutely no control over? When we're born, we have no control over the color of the skin that we're in. There's nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing that I can do about it. So why does it matter so much about the color, the actual visual color of my skin? My Blackness makes you fearful? Does my Blackness make you uncomfortable? Does my Blackness make you feel that I don't belong? If the answer to that is yes, why? Why is that a thought process? Why is that your perception? What subconsciously makes someone feels like they're better than someone, that this person doesn't belong? That's something that we really need to look at and discuss on a deeper level, because that's not something that you can control. It isn't something that I even want to control, because I love my Blackness. I love the skin that I'm in. And if someone else doesn't love the fact that I love who I am, then that's not my issue. That's something that they have to work on. But I just want us to think, what it really boils down to is the color of someone's skin makes you feel a certain type of way. And in that feeling, you react a certain type of way. And we need to really think about that and meditate on, why do I think this way? And therefore, why do I react that way? Because we're all the same. If you hurt, I hurt. If I hurt, you hurt. We're all connected. All of us. Different race, different genders. We're all connected on the same level because we're all God's children. And no one, no matter what the color of their skin, no one is less or greater than the other. God created us all equal, no matter what color the skin that we're in. And I just want us to think about that when you're in prayer or meditation, or even if you're just pondering, why is it such hatred for one race over another? Where did it come from? What is the foundation of that? Is it because of the media? Is it because of what we're taught? Is it because of a personal experience? What is it? Because all of us have experienced pain. All of us have experienced trauma. What is your perception when you see a race? Why are you afraid? What happened to make you afraid? And even if you have experienced something traumatic with another race, just know that that traumatic or painful situation doesn't include the entire race of people. It doesn't include everyone. I've had experiences, not so good experiences with other races, but I don't conclude that all people are the same as the person who treated me badly that were of another race. Because I just know that at the core of all of us is love. At the core, we were all born out of love, no matter what the situation is, because God allowed you to be born, and God is love. So what changed from birth until now, from birth until whatever age you are, that made you feel that either you're better than another race, or you have a hatred towards another race, or whatever the case may be? Just know that any pain or any trauma that can happen to any one of us by any race, it doesn't conclude that that is what the foundation of every race is. Everyone is an individual. All of us are accountable for our own actions. So I just wanted to say that this is truly an injustice that happened to Jacob Blake and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and Mike Brown and Tamir Rice. And like I said, the list goes on and on. George Floyd. Things have got to get better. Things have got to change, because the way that we have been conducting ourselves in society when it comes to race relations is not good enough. There has to be more conversations. There has to be more changes with laws, with rules, with regulations, with media, with how Black people are portrayed in every aspect. We have to have change, because on a subconscious level, there has to be a reason of why people feel the way they feel towards another race. And I know that everything I just listed above affects all of that. The media, what we're taught, how we learn, school, environment, all of that plays a part in our perception on how we view one another. I pray for the families of everyone involved with Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, everyone, George Floyd, anyone affected. The list is too long to mention, but I pray for their families, because this is something I do not wish on anybody, because losing a loved one is something that all of us can have empathy and compassion for as a human being on that level. Compassion is key. Love is key. We have to show more love to one another. Love would override hate in any situation. But we must have action behind what we're praying for and what we're showing in the aspect of giving love. Has to be change made in the laws and rules, regulations, how the police are trained. There has to be a change, because we can no longer continue to move, grow, and go on the way things have been. Business as usual. Things are going to change. And we have to be able to change our perception in certain situations and scenarios, and put yourself in that place. Put yourself in that scenario. What would you have done? What could you have done differently to get a different outcome? Could you even imagine being in a situation like that? What would you do? Is fear something that could cause someone to react in a different way than they normally would? When you put yourself in other people's shoes, then you will have a different perspective on how or why someone reacted the way that they did. So my prayer is that there is justice for Jacob Blake, that there is justice for Breonna Taylor, that there is justice for George Floyd, that there's justice for everyone who has lost a loved one at the hands of the very ones who are supposed to protect us. And like I said, there are so many good cops that are on the police force. There are so many more good cops than bad, but it's just the bad ones are getting so much publicity in the media because of what they are doing to the Black race. And we have to learn that we can't do this by ourselves. We need each other. We need each other. We have to have each other in order for it to work. The left with the right with the left. We have to come together and change the laws, change the rules, change the regulations, because we can't continue on doing business as usual. It won't continue on because people are tired, and people are not going to continue to allow this to happen. I wonder what would happen if this happened in another country. You know, there is a thing called genocide where, you know, it's the complete elimination of a race. What is really going on here? We have to stay in prayer for all of humanity. Love is the key. And I just want justice for everyone involved in a police shooting who is the victim and the victim's family. There is another way. There are other protocols. There's more training that needs to be done. There's laws that have to be made, laws that have to change in order for this to stop. It has to stop. So I thank you for joining me on tonight as we discussed social injustice. We're here every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining me on tonight for another episode of Saved, Single, and Satisfied. And until next time, I pray that you enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you on next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye.